Yes, everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Howson, and this is a tactical preview of how Manchester United can line up and beat Burnley this weekend. Tough game for United, always is against Burnley, even though they're not having a great season. They're currently 16th in the league. They are 7 points from the relegation zone, which I think probably is enough to keep them safe. Fulham are in 18th, but they do have a game in hand. They're not safe yet, which makes them dangerous, I think. But I think probably one victory would be enough to consolidate survival for them. Now, their form coming into this, they've only won one of their last 8 league games, which was a good result, to be honest, beating Everton 2-1 at Goodison Park. Away from home this season, they've managed 4 wins, 3 draws, and 8 losses, which is a little bit worse than what you would hope for, really. It's 15th in away form in the league. They have scored a total of 25 goals this season in the Premier League, which is the 3rd worst in terms of goal scoring output, marginally in front of the 2nd worst, which is Fulham, with only 24 league goals, highlighting exactly where the issues are for Burnley. Expected formation then, Sean Dyche. Honestly, he's almost playing up to a stereotype at this point. Their standard formation is the 4-4-2, and they don't often deviate from that formation regardless of the opposition that they're playing against. Opting for a lineup of, I think it will be Peacock, Farrell, Peters, me, Tarkowski and Lowton, McNeil, Brownhill, Westwood, Goodmanson, Wood and Vidra. Injuries, it looks like there's doubts over Pope, Jay Rodriguez and Kevin Long, and those that we're expecting to definitely be out would be Ashley Barnes and Robbie Brady. They did beat us 2-1 last time that we played them at Old Trafford. Goals from Chris Wood and Jay Rodriguez. And it is Chris Wood that we're going to go with as the star man for them. So he's got 7 goals in 25 league games, which doesn't pull up any trees. But it still highlights a little bit of a danger, because when you're down there, like, a 10-goal a season striker would be an absolute gift for a team that's in the bottom 5 or 6 of the league. That's literally enough to keep you up if a striker can score that. He has also registered 2 assists. He is an imposing physical striker that I certainly think the likes of Lindelof wouldn't like to be played up against. He can be a very adept target man. I think he's underrated, I would say, in that sort of thing. He is an aerial threat, but only 1 of his 7 goals have come from his head. He is someone that they go to because they do go extremely direct when they're playing it up. He tends to pull onto one of the fullbacks from the back post on the crossing, tries to isolate them and see if he can use his height and his power advantage. Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka in particular must be extremely wary about this one and not lose concentration, because that is where both of them are weak. Both of them are weak in the air. Both of them can switch off. And after hearing that Danny Welbeck had looked at Wan-Bissaka's positioning and knew that he could ghost in from behind him when crosses was coming in, I hope that's something that United have highlighted, and I hope that's something we're going to have worked on, because Chris Wood really could hurt United from this sort of thing, exactly the same way that we saw against Brighton. Now, Burnley also only averaged 41.6 possession in the league this season, so he will be extremely important for them in terms of the hold-up play and getting them up the pitch, because they're not going to try and play through the middle, and he is an ever-present danger from set pieces, which, as we know, Manchester United are not good at. Let's have a look a little bit then at their strengths and weaknesses and the tendencies that they sort of play with. Burnley attempted 4,087 long balls in the league this season, which is 600 more than the nearest team with 3,419. Clear that their style of play is to go extremely direct, and as we said, Chris Wood is the one that they're looking for the flick on, and also to try and win second balls. We also mentioned earlier that they averaged 41.6% possession in the league this season. 7 of their 25 goals have come from set pieces, not including crosses from open play. Dwight McNeil is the joint top in the league alongside Pedro Neto for completed crosses, so we certainly have to watch for the combination of him and Chris Woods in this game. Burnley actually alternate playing from a low block and being difficult to break down to being very physical and pressing high, sometimes alternating between the two within a game. So that's something that United needs to be wary of. Whether they press or sit back, it's purely situational, but against the bigger teams, they do opt to try and sit back and maintain shape and limit the distances and be compact. Burnley aren't by any stretch of the imagination a possession side or a footballing side, and they've got the worst pass completion in the league at 70.8%. Now, when you add up all of those things, they're not looking for possession. They are not looking for patterns of play. They go direct more than any other team in the league. This tells you exactly the sort of thing that we're going to be facing when it comes against Burnley. And it's been successful for them for several seasons. It's not being very successful for them this season, and this might be as close as they've looked to the drop for a good long time. Now, how can United beat them? I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's starting 11 is really starting to take shape and take form, and I think this is what we could see him go with. I think it will be Henderson in net. I think he is now United's number one, and certainly for the league, I think it will be Henderson. Back four, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, and Shaw. I'm going with Fred and Pogba in midfield because I want to see the ball moved around a little bit more. I think that's what your key to breaking this Burnley side down is going to be. I would understand it if it was McTominay in for Fred, because I do expect loads of balls to be going direct, and I think McTominay sitting just in front of Lindelof would offer United a little bit of an aerial screen, as would Nemanja Matic. So I wouldn't necessarily be upset for either of those players to play. And Pogba, I think Pogba's looked great in a United shirt of late. I think he's in some real good form. And the one thing that you get with Paul Pogba that I think is underutilised and underthought of is how good he is at defending set pieces. It's not something that you think of when you think of Paul Pogba, but his height and his physicality is going to be needed against someone like Burnley, both boxes. So I would definitely want Paul Pogba to be featured in this game, no matter what. It's going to be Bruno. It's going to be Rashford. I think it should be Greenwood on the right-hand side, but wouldn't be shocked if it was Dan James. And I think it'll be Cavani down the middle up front. That's the 11 that I am going with, and this is how this United side can beat them. So the first way to discuss how you beat Burnley is to discuss how to nullify the threat that they pose and potentially not get caught out. So you have to stop the crosses. This is where I dither a little bit on the selection of Pogba. Pogba, or someone you would want to double up with your fullback. Luke Shaw gets caught out of position numerous times in a game, and against an opposition that's probably going to be sitting back and being compact, then you can certainly get caught out with these. And Luke Shaw's urgency to get over and stop a cross just isn't good enough for my liking. Numerous times we see a cross go in, Wan-Bissaka gets highlighted and targeted, but Luke Shaw could have done a little bit better in blocking a cross and getting over there to try and prevent that. So I would like to see my midfield double up. I think you can ask your forwards to, but Greenwood and Rashford, if we're being honest with ourselves, do not get back and cover. So you're going to ask Paul Pogba to try and double up with Luke Shaw, and probably Fred to double up with Wan-Bissaka. Both of those can do that. Fred, often you will see, certainly when he's partnered with McTominay, he drifts over to the left-hand side, and he does double up and also sometimes sit in for Luke Shaw when defending. You have to stop the crosses. The crosses are going to be absolutely vital for this Burnley side to try and cause threats. You have to stay on your feet in the defensive third. No cheap free kicks in our defensive third. McNeil has got fantastic set-piece delivery. You can't allow him to get in the mixer on those. And Burnley lead the league in swinging crosses from free kicks with 107. So Henderson is definitely going to have to command his area. He could be a key and also pretty good in this game. Maguire and Lindelof are going to have to win headers. Be strong and be physical. Could Bailly be a better option in this game? Could Tuanzebe be a better option than Lindelof in this game? Because I think that if I'm a Burnley manager, I am looking at Lindelof and I'm looking at Wan-Bissaka and I'm saying, I think we can bully those two. The way United can hurt Burnley is, of course, the quick and incisive passing. We saw a little bit of Ollie ball last week on the edge of the box where we saw brilliant one-touch play from Manchester United, and I thought we looked sensational doing it. That sort of one-touch play, little squares, little triangles where we can knock it around into each other and then get a ball into the box. United are fantastic at doing that. For me, that is Manchester United's style of play. That's something that we saw almost immediately when Solskjaer came, and I think we've improved on it to the point where it's getting quite fluid and quite slick. We have to be good with that strong passing. I would also say we have to be controlling and dictating in midfield. Burnley are going to play with a midfield too, so there is an opportunity for a midfield overload, whether that's McTominay and Fred, which isn't everyone's cup of tea as a midfield too, and I understand that. They, with Bruno, could certainly overload that midfield. But if you can bring in Pogba and Bruno with one other, I think Fred can actually look pretty decent because you're asking him to do less risky passes and you're asking him to do more simple passes. Find Paul Pogba, find Bruno. What two fantastic options that you've got there to try and exploit them through the middle. That's a way that you can drag out a midfield too. Now, it is going to feel like a 4-5-1 at times. They're not going to leave two forward. One of them is going to drop into midfield and try and make the numbers up there. But that's where United playing quick, playing simple is going to have a massive impact. I do think Pogba is a better fit because we're going to need the creativity. And as I said, his height from set pieces in both boxes is going to be a big thing for us. Tarkowski is a beast of a defender, but outside him, their defensive line is pretty slow. Ben Mee, probably going to be the centre-half partner alongside him. He tends to struggle against movement and speed. Can he be isolated? Can you get 2v1 alongside him? Can you run at him and try and draw a foul? Rashford and Greenwood's pace could pose them all sorts of problems if we can get the right sort of service in behind, or if we can get the ball there early enough so that they're not running at a complete low block. Because running at a complete low block, there's a reason that teams that are smaller play the low block. It's bloody effective. So what you want to do is get a ball in there nice and early. Get a ball in there while their line is still a touch high. Maybe draw them out onto you and try and force them into pressing you so you can move it through the thirds quickly and try and get at them while they're a little bit all over the place in the defensive line. Speed kills. Rashford has some of the most offsides in the league this season. So he needs to time his runs better, but let's look for those runs from Marcus Rashford. He can probably even afford to make sure he's onside because he's such a fast player and he's so much faster than the Burnley defence that just making sure that he's onside and getting the ball over the top, be onside, get the ball down and get it scored. A big thing for United in this game is going to be to score early. Don't let Burnley build confidence. If they're still in the game towards the end, they are going to make it more difficult. And I think that we can force them to come out of their 2 banks of 4 if we score an early goal. The longer this game goes on, like I said, the confidence is going to grow from them and the frustration, and our confidence might drain away. 4-4-2 is extremely taxing on the wingers. The width is very important to the way that Burnley play. So to counter that, the fullbacks, we need to run the other way. Overlaps. We want overlaps in this game. Wan-Bissaka's not the best in the world at it, and Greenwood doesn't really help him the way his link-up play works, but Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford down the left-hand side are a deadly duo. Let's overlap. Let's get their wide players to start following Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka, dragging them into all sorts of deep waters, and that's going to nullify them going forward. If their wide players narrow off to try and help the midfield too, there should be plenty of room to hurt them down in the wide areas. 4-4-2 does not suit a team that wants to play the sort of football that we do. United can really hurt them. That's my preview. Let me know in the comments. Do you like these previews? I feel like we give quite a lot of information. And I feel like if I'm not blowing my own trumpet, I think the graphics are good. I think the information's good. Let me know. Is it the best preview out there? I can't say that. I don't really watch enough of other people's. Let me know in the comments. Do you like these previews? Subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you in the next one. Laters. Oh, score prediction. 2-0 United. I think we get the job done. Laters.